this one, the information the U.S. has provided about the Syrian government's alleged use of chemical weapons does not look convincing. That's according to Yuri Ushakov, who's the senior foreign policy advisor to Russian President Vladimir Putin. Ushakov has slammed Washington for deciding to send more weapons to the foreign-backed militants fighting in Syria. Now, he says that the decision undermines joint efforts to organize a peace conference and to find a solution to the crisis in Syria. Earlier, a top Russian lawmaker described the data as, quote, fabricated. This as the Obama administration says he has high confidence that Damascus has used such weapons, including the deadly nerve agent sarin. Earlier, probes by UN investigators have pointed to evidence of insurgents having used chemical weapons in Syria. Well, the U.S. is beating louder on the drums of war against Syria. Western sources in Turkey are now speaking of imposing a possible no-fly zone over the war-ravaged country. Media have reported to Western diplomats that Washington is mulling over the idea of a no-fly zone in southern Syria, most possibly close to Jordan's border. Now, the diplomats say the U.S. aims to prop up anti-government insurgents inside of the country. On Thursday, the White House announced that it would provide weapons and more military support for the militants. Now, the decision came soon after the Syrian Army, backed by a group of Hezbollah fighters, inflicted heavy losses on the Takfiri insurgents and took over control of the strategic city of Qusayr near the Lebanese border. Syrian forces later began a new operation to flush out the remaining terrorists from the northern parts of the country. And regarding that no-fly zone, you can see the bottom of your screen that France now is saying that a no-fly zone in Syria cannot be done without the UN's approval. Again, that is out of Paris, that they're saying that the no-fly zone that Washington wants to implement cannot be done without the UN approval. And we know that Moscow and Beijing have been very, very firm and actually not allowing many of the other Western motions of trying to get involved in Syria. So we'll be keeping our eye on that breaking story. Continue now with other news. Meanwhile, Syria has accused the U.S. of lying about the alleged use of chemical weapons by Damascus. A Syrian foreign ministry official has told the media that the White House is trying to hold the Syrian government responsible for the use of chemical agents instead of insurgents. The Syrian foreign ministry has also slammed the U.S.'s decision to increase military aid to foreign-backed militants. It says Washington has always shown double standards when it comes to the issue of terrorism, and that arming of the terrorists fighting against the government in Syria is just one example.